What's up, child of God? Welcome on today's episode. We have some great videos here that we shall be seeing together. But first, hear your message from the Lord today from this book here. The title is Blessings for God's People. Then you will know that I, the Lord your God, dwell in Zion, my holy hill. Jerusalem will be holy. Never again will foreigners invade her. In that day, the mountains will drip wine, and the hills will flow with milk. All the ravines of Judah will run with water. A fountain will flow out of the Lord's house, and will water the valleys of Acacia. My friends, that is from Joel 3:17 and 18. Interesting, right? Good vibes. So that creator is wonderful, loving towards you, and has prepared great blessings for you in this episode. Let's give thanks to them just for the gift of life before we dive in. But first, my friend, I'd like to know, I'm curious, from which country you are watching from. Tell us down below, my friend. You might as well come across your homie. Let's talk with our Maker. Dear Lord Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the videos we have, Father. Thank you for your adorable, precious child, Father, that have joined us today. Dear Lord, thank you for the blessings that you will pass in their lives, Father, through this video. May they say your goodness, Father. May their souls be uplifted, dear Lord, Father, and may your love overflow in their lives, dear Lord. Forgive them all their sins, Father, and as you do great things for them, include us also, Father. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in good vibes.
No, but you don't understand. The video games you've been playing, they already got the first half of your military training done. You think I'm fucking around? I'm not. You see, listen, during World War I and some of World War II, a lot of men had never fired a rifle before in their life, right? So when they got to fucking boot camp, it wasn't just about getting the men in shape, teaching them tactics, teaching them hand-to-hand combat. You had to teach these guys, hey, listen, put the stock against your shoulder. No, don't close one eye. Keep both eyes open, and after you pull the trigger, you gotta raise the bolt, pull it back to rechamber another round, push it forward, and slam it down. We had to teach these guys how to operate the weapons that they would be using. Here's my theory. You already know that the U.S. military plays a large role in the creation of games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. That's not a secret. When the game is over and you see the credits, it says things like special thanks to the U.S. military or General Don Baker, whatever, right? Here's the thing. 90% of you here have never held an MP5 or an M16 or an M1911 or an MP40, right? Yet, if I handed you one and told you to reload it, you probably could. Now, it gets even crazier because think about what I'm saying. M4, M16, MP5, all I'm saying is an assembly of letters and numbers. MP5. That could mean fucking anything. But 90% of you are picturing an MP5 right now. You understand that you gotta pull the slide back and click that bitch up before you can pull out the magazine. Put that mag back in and slam it back down. Same thing with like a fucking M16. If I handed you an M16, which you've probably never held before in your life, you'd be like, okay, well, the magazine release button's right there, and then I have to put another magazine in, and then, I gotta charge it back, and I think I'm good to go. That is intentional and genius and fucking insane!
I carried the radio in Vietnam. Nobody talked to me. Nobody wanted to be close to me. I was a prime target. They had me walk over there. Nobody wanted to know me. It was fine. In a firefight that we had either daily or every other day on a really good week, I had a 5-second life expectancy. My sergeant, I was his radioman. That means when he went to go take a leak, I went to take a leak. That radio had to be with him all the time. You'd think he and I got really tight, except he never talked to me. We got tight in a different way. Really tight. And I'll tell you those sometime, but he wouldn't talk to me. And I always thought, he was a tall, skinny black man named Sergeant Baldwin, wonderful guy. I always thought he didn't like me because at 19, as a kid, everything's got to be your fault. It wasn't until 50 years later I heard the term RTO, first to go, radio telephone operator. That's what I was. And Sergeant Baldwin had already lost 2 radiomen before me. That's why he didn't want to talk to me. He didn't want to get close. But twice, 2 times in my entire tour, we talked at night. One was about his early growing up. And the other one, I asked him a question. And I said, how come all of us out here are 19, 20 years old? See, he was an old man. Sergeant Baldwin was an old man. He had gray hairs in his beard. I could see him. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to die of a heart attack. See this? 4 gray hairs. Oh my God. I learned 50 years later he was 25. But to me, that was forever away. 25 was an old man. God, Eric. So I asked him, how come we're all 19 and 20 years old? He said, because when I yell, take that machine gun, a 19-year-old's going to jump up and charge. 21-year-old's going to hesitate a second and then jump. And a 24-year-old's going to say, right after you, Sarge, I'm backing you up all the way. That's who's fighting the wars, folks. They're 18, 19-year-old kids. I didn't have enough brains to pour pee out of a boot before I put it on. It was, I ain't sure I got it right now, but I'm just saying that it was that kind of time in your life. I did everything he asked. Everything. I charged. I did everything. He's an old man. He said, do this. Good Lord.
This video is for educational purposes only, entertainment purposes only. Everything I say is 100% alleged. The only thing I ask is that you engage with the video so more people can see it before it gets removed. I was fresh out of basics, assigned to Nellis Air Force Base, aka area. I was a weather observer, and as a weather observer, I would just travel around base and take weather reports. Within days of being there, a friend advises me to avoid range 4. Now, according to him, while they were doing atomic bomb testing in the area, there was a wild horse running around. Now, this horse got close enough, but not close enough to be unalive, but close enough to gain a weird property. It glowed. I was also advised not to look the horse in the face or approach the horse. Days forward, the guy that I'm going to replace is now training me. He's taking me out to different ranges, showing me how to get the weather reports, etc. I noticed that when we get to range 4, he does 2 things. 1, he never wants to get out of the truck, and 2, he prefers to fabricate the details of the weather report. When questioned about this, he brings up this horse. So at this point, I'm convinced that him and my friend are only talking about this horse to scare me. So I put it in the back of my mind. Fast forward, now I'm out of training. The days are smooth. They're peaceful. It's quiet. Pay attention. I'm always hearing birds whistling like they're making music, but I never see these birds. But nonetheless, no horse sighting. One day I'm at range 4 sitting in the weather shack trying to avoid the desert heat when I notice a white rabbit moving sporadically through the desert. The rabbit ends up getting stuck in one of the desert bushes. I head out of the weather shack to help it. As I get closer, I notice that this rabbit is actually a child in a silver jumpsuit with chalky white skin, long blonde hair that looks silver, and these big blue eyes. At first I hesitate because this child is so chalky white that they look like they're glowing. Like they look human, but they just look like they're glowing. From a distance, I assure this child that I'm going to help, not to worry. As I turn to go back to the weather shack, at the corner of my eye, I see somebody standing. I look over and it's a man. He has on the exact same attire, the silver jumpsuit with the long silver hair, blue eyes, and chalky skin. He charges at me. So I run into the shack and close the door. My heart is pounding, and the birds are whistling and singing so loudly it sounds like they're swarming the shack. Hours later, once the sun finally goes down, I run to the truck and floor it back to base. As I'm speeding back to base, there's a woman on the side of the road with the same silver jumpsuit, chalky white skin, long silver blondish hair, and big blue eyes. And she tells me thank you, not outwardly, but in my head. I slam on the brakes and get out and throw up, and then get back in the truck and speed back to base. I never report the incident. Instead, I just gaslight myself into thinking that the 3 glowing weirdos that I encountered in the desert was all a part of my imagination. As the days went on, I continued my job as usual. However, I did see this lady often, whether it was at the corner of my eye or directly in front of me. She was always in my head thanking me for trying to help her daughter, till one day I just asked, where are you from? She asked if I was familiar with star systems. I told her no, so she said it didn't matter where she was from. For the next 2 years, she and I became friendly with each other. Here's what I learned. The glowing horse sightings was actually the man. The woman, the man, the child are tall whites. Their average height is between 7 feet and 9 feet. They're very peaceful with a lifespan of 800 years. They're very humanoid in appearance and have been on Earth for a millennia. The tall whites can speak English. Their speaking voice is very high-pitched, almost like a bird whistling. For protection, they carry these small pins that they can use to stun, damage, or unalive someone. They travel in large black titanium ships. Allegedly, they taught the U.S. how to use titanium for military aviation. They refuse to teach us anti-gravity elements or light speed because they believe we have ill intent. They are 1 in 4 advanced beings that provide technology in exchange to abduct people, but in order to abduct people, they have to provide the government with a list of people that they're taking. The tall whites have the ability to project powerful emotions into the human conscious, as well as sense the emotional state of a human. They believe every human has the ability to project their consciousness. They use Earth as a resting stop and spend majority of their time underground. Lastly, the Black Knight satellite is their technology. I called her the teacher, and because I spent so much time with her, I was the teacher's pet, said Charles Hall. Charles Hall alleges for 2 years while stationed at the Nellis Air Force Base that he interacted with the tall whites. If stories like this interest you, be sure to give me a follow and a like because I enjoy having these discussions also. And if you're more interested in the Black Knight satellite, I do have a story on that in my playlist.
If you're a woman who has unresolved resentment or trauma with your father,
I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Number one, she will create a story. Subconsciously. She doesn't grab a book and go, this is my life story. It's in her. It's in her cells. It's in her DNA. And that story will say something along the lines of, from this day forward, my heart has been broken, and I will never allow my heart to be broken by a man ever again for as long as I live. And so what I am going to do subconsciously and energetically is put a trap door around my heart. And I'm going to go and live life from my mind. And I will be my own protector. And I will be my own provider. And I will give myself what my dad was never able to give me. That's all great. What happens when that woman is looking for real love? Well, the only way she'll access it is to reopen her heart. The only way she'll access it is to go back and heal that story, which is the scariest thing for a human being to do. Because guess what that means, Louis? That means you have to go back to the very place that you promised yourself unconsciously.
I will never let this happen.
I will never let this happen again. And the defensiveness and the walls have to fall.
Gosh.
You have to open yourself up and go, that part of me, I'm going to allow it to die.
How thick are Saturn's rings? Saturn's rings are very grand and large. In fact, they just fit between the Earth and the Moon. But despite that, they're very thin. On average, they're just 10 meters tall. One of my favorite facts about Saturn's rings is that if you were to scale them down such that they'd fit between Sydney and Perth, the rings would be as thick as only a piece of paper. The astronomer Galileo reportedly discovered the rings of Saturn, although when he saw them, he didn't realize that they were actually rings around the planet. In fact, he thought Saturn was composed of 3 planets that almost touch and move with each other. He even described them as Saturn's ears. But then, in 1612, the rings appeared to disappear, and they'll do the same again this year in March, which really surprised Galileo. He even joked that Saturn had swallowed his children in reference to the myth of the Titan Saturn devouring his offspring. But the poor thing was confused even more once again when the rings returned into view in 1613. Nowadays we know that what he saw was the rings appearing to disappear and reappear again because they are just so thin.
Oh, you're gonna love this one, the shampoo conspiracy. Something that you use every day, but do you know who's really behind it and what it's really doing to you? Disclaimer, the ideas presented here are not theories. They're all verifiable facts. So you go over to your local grocery store to do some shopping and you realize you haven't washed your hair in over a month. It's time to clean up. You head to the shampoo aisle and you're met with dozens, maybe even over 100 different options to choose from. Quite the variety, right? Surely you can find a brand that's right for you. Well, my friend, what if I told you that 90% of these shampoos are all owned by the same 3 to 4 mega corporations, all of which have one common top shareholder? This is the shadow shampoo oligopoly, and they're all kind of working against you together. So here are the top 20 or so most popular shampoo brands in America, and they're all owned, or at least partially owned, by these 4 mega corporations. But there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, these companies are worth hundreds of billions of dollars, so they definitely must put the customer first, right? Oh, my starry-eyed little friend. and let me introduce you to a very simple business practice called going public. So when you start a company, you begin as what we call a small business, a little family-owned mom and pop shop that brings some sort of product or service into the world. As you grow, you hire more people, make more money, and produce more incredible products or services to your customers. Now, I'm gonna dumb this down a lot, as there's so much more that goes into this, but I won't bore you with the details. This ain't a business course. But to keep it very simple, eventually most companies who want to make it big hit a wall, where they're not able to grow more because they lack the money required to invest in that next big thing for their business. Whether it be more employees, more inventory, new equipment, bigger advertising budgets, etc. So they take out loans, look for sponsors, investors, and venture capitalists to get that money. But sometimes even that's not enough. So in order to get a lot of money really fast, they go public through an IPO, an initial public offering, which basically means their company is now going to be traded on the stock market. Now, being on the stock market means you no longer fully own your own business anymore. You're trading small percentage ownerships in your business called shares to the public in exchange for cash. If that company proceeds to grow and make more money, the value of its shares go up, and the people who bought them make a profit, either through dividends or selling the shares. Now, both people and other companies can invest in publicly traded businesses by buying their shares on the stock market and are called the shareholders. So you gotta realize these companies that go public sort of now have two different categories of customers they have to serve. They have the consumers who actually buy their products or services, and now they also have the shareholders who have sort of become customers of the company as well. You following me so far? Now here is where it gets interesting. The regular Joe Schmo shareholders like you and I don't really make much of an impact from our couple $1,000s or whatever that we invest in these companies. What happens is giant investment conglomerates invest hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars into these companies. Investment firms like BlackRock and Vanguard, who sort of become these super mega customers of the companies they invest in. And these companies must now do something called please the shareholder, or else these giant investment firms pull their funding these companies now rely on and put them out of business. Pleasing the shareholder usually means the company now has to get their consumers, that other group of customers they have that actually buy their products, to buy their products or services as often as possible, so they can increase how much their company is worth, known as market cap, by whatever means it takes. Sometimes even to the ultimate detriment of the consumer, so the shareholders stay happy and keep their money in the company. Stock Market 101 for dummies. So we went a little bit off the rails just now. Let's dial it back. Oh yes, the shampoo cabal, the 4 megacorps that basically own almost every shampoo product ever, all of which are of course publicly traded companies on the stock market. Let's see who the top shareholders of these companies are, shall we? Procter & Gamble. Oh, look at that. Vanguard. Unilever. Yup, that's Vanguard. And Johnson & Johnson. Well, what do you know? Vanguard. Meaning these companies' top customer isn't the person using their shampoo, but rather a $1 trillion investment conglomerate who by definition is literally only concerned with profit. L'Oreal is actually pretty well balanced and are still technically majority family owned by, of course, a $1 billion family, the Betancourts. But you can see their top shareholders are also big investment firms, and oh look, there's Vanguard again. Now, we're not done yet, because pretty much all of these companies have all been involved in major lawsuits due to their shampoos making people's hair fall out, drying out their skin, damaging their hair, and many other reasons. Class action lawsuits that they've resolved through settlements, meaning they basically admitted, yeah, our bad, our shampoo might have done that, so here's some money. But wait just a minute, if their shampoo makes people's hair fall out, doesn't that mean they're gonna stop buying shampoo because they're not gonna have any hair to wash anymore? Well, these same companies also make all the products that allegedly make your hair grow back, hydrates dry scalps, and fixes damaged hair. Nioxin, Procter & Gamble, Rogaine, Johnson & Johnson, you get the drill. Products that are inherently more expensive due to their medical properties and that the consumer will have to buy more often to benefit from its effects. Welcome to pleasing the shareholder. Now, I'm not saying that every publicly traded company is this evil mega corporation that feeds on your soul, but I can tell you, if any of these companies ever have the option between getting a consumer to buy something once in a while versus forcing a consumer to buy a much more expensive product all the f***ing time, you can bet they're choosing that one. And just apply this logic to what happened in 2020 and 2021 and you'll start to notice something. Okay, I'm gonna stop now before I get in trouble. But huge shout out to this legend, Ian Carroll, for bringing this to light. He's the one I learned this from, so definitely him if you want to learn more. At the end of the day, remember to shop local and support small businesses, because those are the ones that really do have your back.
Russians never smile, Russians never smile. Do you guys know what kind of books Russian kids are reading at school? And it's a part of a school program? The first one and our favorite is Mumu. This book is about a guy who had his own dog. Book number 2 is Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy. This book is about a woman who jumped under the train. And book number 3 is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This book is about a guy who killed his own landlord with an axe. The last but not least, Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. Do I even need to explain? Like, Dead Souls, guys, the name itself is already depressive. So don't say Russians are not smiling, they're not nice, they're just still grieving about the dog.
The easiest prey for manipulation is the one who doesn't question the hunter. People with weaker critical thinking skills are more easily manipulated because they tend to accept information without questioning its accuracy or its source. They also struggle to recognize distortions, flawed reasoning, or misleading arguments, which makes them more vulnerable to being persuaded when a predator appeals to their emotions. Critical thinking acts as a shield against manipulation. Its absence is what leaves a person defenseless.
You're anointed to be that man's wife. You're anointed to cover him. You're anointed to be his Izar. You're anointed to be his watchman. You're anointed to believe in him. You're anointed to deal with his attitude. You're anointed to deal with his personality. You're anointed to deal with his call. You're anointed to deal with his demons. You're anointed to...
I am deep into the mermaid eating partying rabbit hole. So I just saw this lady's video. She posted another one. It's another update. And this time they're trafficking the mermaids to B613. I kid you not. So she goes back into the story about how her fisherman friend or whoever it is, that they went back out to the ocean after the dinner party that they sold the last mermaid to. And this time, you know, they have all this special equipment. This is how they're finding the mermaids. And they find another mermaid. But this one, she's a fighter. She is not letting them have her. So basically, as they put her in the tank, her fingertips get chopped up, so damaged goods, nobody wants her. But apparently there's a secret government organization out in the middle of the ocean, B613, if you know, you know. And basically they said they'll take her. So when they show up to drop off the trafficked mermaid at the research facility, he said that there is a bunch of like creatures that he has never seen before. So that's where we're at in the story. I'm going to tag the creator because I am deep into this. I'm going to be dreaming about mermaids tonight. I swear to God.
So this one is for all the ladies out there. If you're looking for a man, if you're not married, or if you are married and you have a husband that I'm going to describe now, you hold on to that man. If you're not married, look for such a man. Let me lay the foundation here first. Today, in Western civilization, if you look at the United States, Canada, Europe, especially Australia, New Zealand, we are breeding a lot of feminine men. And we are breeding a generation of men that feels like if they participate in the race, they need to get a certificate. They don't have to work anymore to win the race. By just participating, you need to get a certificate. We're raising a generation of men that's more concerned about the skincare products that they're using, the type of shoes that they're wearing, the clothing. And I'm not saying men shouldn't take care of themselves. I'm just saying that there's a shift of focus that has happened in the whole manhood world over the last couple of decades. And there's a massive push towards breaking men down so that society is filled with a lot of feminized men that cannot protect their families, that cannot stand, that cannot protect their children and raise their children according to good morals, values, and ethics. And so this has been a major attack. And the thing is this, if you're looking for a husband and a man, and you find someone that has gone through a lot of trials and difficulties in his life, there's been hardships, you know, and maybe even this man has been broken at times, but yet that man decided, I'm not going to remain lying down. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to work through that, and I'm going to allow the trials and the tribulations and the things that's coming against me, the resistance of life. I'm going to use that in order to help shape my character so that I can mature and become a better person. That man, that quality trait is praiseworthy. Because today, men give up before they even try. Because society is built in such a way that if it doesn't come easy, just leave it, just ignore it. But that's not how life works. If you are married, you want a husband that is willing and able to go through the difficult times, that can be the buffer to absorb the hardship that comes towards the family, and that can protect his wife and his children. That's the type of man that you want to marry. And that's the type of man that's worthy of praise. And I'm not saying that that man will do everything right. I'm just saying that if you want to know the true character of a man, you put him under pressure, because it's under pressure that character is revealed. And if you are married to, and or you are looking for a husband that has gone through the trials of life and that has been broken and that is carrying the scars of hardships and suffering, and yet got up and decided to continue in life and to face the next obstacle and to break through that and face the next one and stand and be a good husband, be a good father, that man is worth holding on to with everything you have. And again, I'm not saying that he's perfect, but I'm saying that character of being able to endure, to develop resilience, because that's what a lot of men is lacking these days. They lack resilience, the ability to bounce back when they've gone through hardships. Because if you have someone, and if you're looking for a husband, and you can find someone that has suffered in life, that's gone through hardships, which is good for a man. I believe that going through difficult times, it's good for men because it shapes character. There's lessons to learn in hardship that you cannot learn in times of peace, in times where things just go easy and it just comes your way. There's something about hardship that can shape the character of a man if he's willing to learn the lessons in and through that hardship. And it's not a negative thing. It's good, because what do you learn? You learn things like discipline. All right? A man without discipline is not worth much. Okay? That's why today we find boys in men's bodies. You find men, they 30, 40, 50 years old, but yet they act like children. They're not mature. Their character is not developed. And very often that happens because they've never been through difficulty. I mean, real difficulty in life. Because it's the difficult times that will teach you resilience. It is the difficult times that will help you, if you apply discipline and to continue to be disciplined, to get through that, to develop problem-solving skills, and to develop humility. A lot of men, if they're like, I can do everything, I can do this, I'm the best, I'm this, that's probably the man who's never really suffered. Because true humility comes when you realize that, listen, life can throw a curveball at you, and at many times that curveball might come and it's going to break you. I have been broken many times in my life, and I mean really broken. It took me sessions and sessions of counseling just to try to recover of the things that I had to face and I had to endure. But deep inside, there's a thing that I'm going to get up and I'm going to continue, because there's no other choice. All right? There's no other choice. You have to get up. All right? You have to move forward. And I just want to encourage the ladies out there that if you're looking for a man and you find a man that has been through the hardships, maybe he grew up poor, maybe he didn't have a father figure in his life, maybe he has faced the most terrible persecution, and maybe he has tried at business and failed and tried again and failed and tried again, but there's a determination to make it. That's a very good quality. It's a very good quality. All right? And I want to encourage you with that. Respect that. Honor that. And support such a man, because with a man that's willing to go through hardships and trials and not give up, and to still try to be, to the best of his ability, a good husband, a good father, a good friend, that is noteworthy.